Hello, America. Hello, Austin.
Hello.
Austin, what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, politics probably. I don't know.
No, you know what? I'm going to try to leave politics alone today.
What?
Yeah, well, I lie. I'll probably do a little bit of politics. Not a lot though.
Oh, okay.
Not a lot.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's just a skosh.
Yeah, just a tad.
Yeah.
So this is Chad Hummel. Welcome everybody to the Got Freedom podcast here on the We the People podcast network. My name is Chad Hummel. If you don't know already, this is episode number 5 of the Got Freedom podcast. And I am live here in, hold on, Austin. Austin's giving me a funny look here. I think that's because my phone might be broadcasting into the podcast. How's that?
That's better. I thought there was just a weird echo in here for a second.
There was. That was my fault. I'm sorry. Let's start over. Hey, Austin, what are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. Politics, probably?
Nah, we'll probably leave that alone.
Oh, wow.
It's Groundhog Day. All right, so we're live here in Irondequoit, New York, which is a suburb of Rochester, New York. I know we do have lots of listeners who are out of state, but those ones that are out of state, you probably already know who I am. You know where we are. We're in Rochester, New York, the town of Irondequoit. We are in the We the People podcast studios in Irondequoit, New York. We're in a gorgeous podcast studio that, along with my partner, Tom Morgan, who you can find on the Kimberly's Revolution podcast, built out this awesome podcast studio. And we have, so far, we have some tremendous entertainers and personalities and just all around bright individuals in Rochester, New York here that appear and broadcast on this We the People podcast network. Namely Jose Pio, who is a Rochester City Councilman. We also have Matthew Fritz, who does a podcast called Real Talk with Matt Fritz. And when Matt Fritz says Real Talk with Matt Fritz, he means real talk, doesn't he, Austin?
The realist talk.
The realist talk. Absolutely. Hi to Jose. Jose, who I just mentioned, he just popped up here on my messages. Every week I say I'm going to try to be a little bit more interactive, and I always forget that this little screen is in front of me to help me out. There's my buddy Jason Madigan. He says, "What's up, 82?" 82, that of course, well, not of course, but that was my football number in high school and college. So thanks, bud. Jason wore number 86. So what's up, 86? So I mentioned Jose Pio. Before I forget, momentarily I'm going to hopefully, technology permitting, I'm going to have a guest that's going to call in on the show. One of the topics that I was looking to discuss today, and then because the world is it's kind of a neat, unique thing, but apparently when you think something and when you have an idea, there's somebody out there with the same thought, the same idea. But here's the thing. So I was driving around this weekend doing some business that I'm going to get into later. And I've had this idea for some time, having coached my son's Little League since he was 6, I think, and he's now 18. So he's on the outs. He just finished his high school baseball career, and he's playing what might be his last year of summer ball with his childhood buddies, kind of the tail end of Little League, so to speak. But having done that and been involved all these years, and then having myself grown up in the city of Rochester and having played Little League baseball in the city of Rochester at the program, which is still around. It certainly, I don't think, unfortunately, is as great as it used to be, but East Side Little League in the city of Rochester. But, having been involved in Irondequoit Little League for so many years, I was kind of thinking, and I don't believe there is too much going on in the city of Rochester by way of Little League. So one of the ideas that I had in the past few years is I'd like to kind of be involved at the ground level of forming some Little League groups in the city of Rochester, some baseball Little League groups in the city of Rochester. My home park, so to speak, when I was a kid growing up was Carter Park, the Carter Street Rec Center. And Carter Street Rec Center is still there. I drive by it often. It's still kind of in my neck of the woods where I live now in Irondequoit. And, I could go on for hours on this topic, but there's most definitely a need for it. So the guests that I'm going to have on momentarily are her name is Caitlin Cruz, and hopefully I don't butcher her name too bad, and she can fix it when she comes on. But Pilonchiski, Caitlin Cruz. And I don't have all the facts and details yet, so I'll wait till she comes on. But essentially, a few moments ago, I noticed on Facebook that Jose Pio, who's a Rochester City councilman and also a fellow podcaster here on the We the People podcast network, he posted something on his Facebook about raising money for Rochester City Little League Group. And I was like, oh, wait, I was just thinking about, getting involved in Rochester City Little League. So I reached out to Jose, and he gave me the name of this individual, Caitlin Cruz, and she's involved apparently in a Little League group in Rochester, New York, and I'd like to talk to her. I want to find out what she has going on, and I'd like to get involved if I can. The grander topic there, and she's gonna call in momentarily, so we'll just kind of sit by and wait for her to call in, and we'll get into the details. But I think the grander issue here is, the violence in the city of Rochester, the gangs, the drugs, and the poverty, and all of those things are interconnected. And it's my firm belief, having grown up in these areas, in the very area where Rochester sees its highest per capita murder rate, in the Carter Street, North Street, Hudson Avenue quadrant, which is essentially the northeast quadrant of the city of Rochester. That's where I grew up, and the children that grow up in that neighborhood right now have nothing. They're largely poverty stricken. Their families are largely dependent upon the government for money, which in turn makes them dependent upon the government for everything, for their housing, for their food, for their medical care. And on top of that, their only source of team and leadership and competition and camaraderie often, unfortunately, turns out to be gangs and selling drugs, as opposed to Little League baseball or Pop Warner football, or just good old fashioned playing at the playground, pick up baseball, pick up basketball. That's all we did. It sounds a little bit cliche, but that's all we did as kids in that very neighborhood. I grew up in the very neighborhood that I'm speaking of, and we did nothing all day long but play pickup sports. We went to Carter Street Rec Center and played pickup sports. We joined the Little League team at Carter Street Rec Center, and then in the summer traveled around to the other rec centers.
Chad, we are getting a call.
Oh, wonderful.
All right. Can I answer that?
Very good.
Hello?
Hello. Okay.
Nope. Hello, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Hi, Caitlin. This is Chad Hummel. How are you doing?
Hi, Chad. I'm doing well. I'm here with my husband, who's also the president of our Rochester City Baseball League.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good. How you doing? And your name, sir?
Santos Cruz.
Santos.
Yes, sir.
So I have Caitlin and Santos Cruz on the line here with me, and I probably butchered your last name, the other part of your last name, but is it Pilonchiski?
It's Clinton, yes. You are very correct.
Okay, so so Austin will blow me in. I can't take credit for that pronunciation because what I did was I called my wife. My wife was born in Poland.
Oh.
So I called my wife a few minutes ago, and I spelled your name to her, and of course she wrote it down. She moved to the United States when she was 12, but she wrote down your name and she pronounced it for me. She told me to write it down phonetically, and I think I just nailed it, didn't I?
It took me a while to learn how to say, start with Planzinski and then Planchinski. Sometimes I just say it to ski people, and
there you go.
But I love it.
Awesome.
Polish tradition.
Yeah. Oh, the Polish tradition's the best. It's the absolute best. So speaking of that, I don't want to go off too far on a tangent here. I don't know how much time you have, and I really want to kind of get down to the issue that you're calling about. But I was just explaining to our listeners and to our followers that I grew up in the Hudson Carter neighborhood, the Hudson Carter North neighborhood, which was actually the old Polish neighborhood in the city of Rochester, not too far from St. Stanislaus Church. And, I grew up playing Little League in the city of Rochester. And over the past couple years, having just finished up spending the last 9 or 10 years coaching my son's Little League team in Irondequoit, I've had this idea in the back of my mind about, wanting to get involved in possibly forming some Little League teams in the city of Rochester. Because one of the things that I noticed over the years in Irondequoit was, we would play Greece teams and we would play Webster teams and we would play Penfield teams. And the only time that we ever played any teams that were city of Rochester teams were from East Side Little League. And I took note that East Side Little League seemed to be dwindling in numbers as well. So, and then just ironically, about 30 minutes ago, I noticed that Jose Pio had posted on his Facebook that he was trying to raise some money for this Little League function. And I quickly called him, and next thing you know, I have you two fine folks on the line here with me. So tell me a little bit about your Little League organization and what it is that you guys are up to.
Yeah, so like my wife already stated, we run the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League, which is a league, is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization that operates for the Upper Falls and Clinton area, has been operating in that area for about 26 years. I myself get involved around 5 years ago, along with my wife, then a girlfriend, where we began to coach the 46th division, and throughout some of the experiences, the things that we dealt with, as related to the area in which we operate in, we have dealt with some circumstances and some issues, but we also have triumphs, and one of those triumphs for me would be just what you mentioned, and that is that now for the first time in eons, we were able to open up in June 12th, have an opening day in which we had East Side Little League, South Side Little League, Charlotte Little League play with us, and they came actually down to our fields and played us at home for our opening day. So, and part of what you were speaking of, saying about why don't we get to play with different leagues, goes with the politics of what the difference between a Little League association, Little League, and an independent association. So now, really quickly, within the city of Rochester, there's about 6 operating leagues. 2 of them are independent, one of them being RIBO, the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League, and the other one being CYAA, Charlotte Youth Sports Association, or something like that. So we're independent league. We operate outside of what is called Little League and the worldwide association, the phenomenon that is known as Little League, and they operate through charters. There is some red tapes and politics and stuff that we've been kind of our administration has been focusing on. And we have met with the District 4 administrator, Ken. We've met with Bruce Conroe from East Little League. We've met with Angelo. We've met with the folks over by Southside, Charlotte Gate. We have a mission to revitalize baseball within the city of Rochester. We have reached back and contacted the city of Rochester because, they have a huge responsibility as well as the youth stake in this race. We've reached out to the city school district, Henrico Sports Athletic Association coordinator over by the Rochester City School District. Phenomenal time. One of my mentors and coach actually when I used to be at East High School back 10 years ago in high school. So right now we were trying to rebuild baseball. You know what I mean? In the city of Rochester, and what better way to do that than by actually playing baseball together? And with that, I got to say that we do have some hurdles in our way, but with individuals like Jose Peo and yourself, in which we can spread the word out and get help at the very minimum, and actually it's not even a minimum, it's a maximum, it's help us be verbally active. And one of the ways that people could do that is by joining the Rochester Baseball Coalition. Now, this is a coalition that is comprised of the Little Leagues that operate within the inner city of Rochester, all 4 of us so far, East Side, South Side, Charlotte, and RIBO. It was something that was back in 2012, kind of died down, And now that we're back, and my ministry has been very front coming about bringing this back, just to be able to advocate for what is park resources, the funding and the allocation of funding to what is our city parks resources. Because if we want to make sure that we keep kids off the streets, keep them out of violence, we all, we've been reading the reports of what's going on in the city of Rochester with the shootings and stuff. We need to keep kids at the street. If that is truly a priority, and I know that's everybody's prioritization, but unfortunately, not everybody goes about it doing the way that it should be done. And what better point of view to take than the individuals who are actually working these fields every single day? You know what I mean?
100%.
Individuals that are, we are on these fields Monday through Saturday. You know what I mean? We're cleaning them. We're doing everything we can. Where to what we can do, we do. But unfortunately, there's some things that fall between the cracks due to manpower, volunteer, and as well as just things that honestly doesn't fall under our responsibility. And that would be said, not saying that we aren't willing to do it. It's just we can't do it. Myself as the president, and again, I love what I do. I'm the president, field coordinator. I'm doing the fields, umpiring, coordinating the games with individuals, re-coordinating, contacting all these organizations, as well as my job as president to look into the future of baseball within the city of Rochester, right?
Santos, I know what you mean. As I mentioned, having coached my son's Little League for many years, oftentimes as the coach, you also find yourself being the one that shows up an hour earlier to get the field ready, and then stay an hour after the game is over to rake the fields, put all the equipment away, to deal with scheduling and so on and so forth. I find this truly impressive that we're having this conversation right now. In light of like I explained that I've been having these thoughts for some time, and I was planning on talking about this topic at length today on my podcast when lo and behold I stumbled across you folks. So I do have some specific questions though for you regarding some of the things that you just mentioned. You mentioned District 4. I'm very familiar with District 4 Little League. I'm very familiar with the politics and the red tape of it, having dealt with it myself for years. Is there anything in particular that you're referring to when you mention the politics and the D4 and all that?
Well, coming into role in president, again, I have to do a lot of homework. And when I say politics, from which I've been learning, Little League is a big organization. It's a worldwide organization. You know what I mean? That they're everywhere. It's not to say that they continue to stretch that their administration or how they go about doing things is wrong. It's just how they're going about doing things within the city of Rochester may not be necessarily conducive to a growing environment when it comes to baseball and keeping kids at the street.
Sure.
Just because the program is running in Penfield doesn't mean that the program is running effectively, the same exact brick and mortar Little League standard book operations. Sometimes we need to deviate from that, and that's where it comes to where we have to have a decision about whether or not we have to pay for be able to pay money. We have to pay money to be able to play with Little League teams, or how do we get into and to be able to play with them, and how to facilitate it, because at the end of the day, facilitating play will not only produce better players, but you know what I mean, will facilitate the growth of baseball within the inner city. Thankfully, the District 4 administration he has been very, very lenient with everything. Without him, we would have not been able to play all these games. He is a like-minded individual who is working with us in the District 4 of Little League to watch these red states and begin to talk about how do we collectively together build baseball within the city of Rochester. Very
good. How many teams do you currently have in your independent league?
So we have about 11 teams. We have 11 teams. Altogether about 150 players. And growing, we have a growing list of about another 125. And just to let you know, 90% of the players that are playing with us this year are completely new to Rival. We contacted out, all the 75 players from 2019, and they all said, "Hey, man, we're still afraid of COVID." And this back in, May. Actually in January and February, when we didn't really know much about whether or not things were going to open up or not. So we have a lot of kids on the way coming. We're doing a lot of good work to be able to grow baseball. We just need all hands on deck, and everybody has to do their part, to be able to make this happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the organization of your league look like? For example, and I can only tell you based on my experience. So we have a board and we have a website, and every, January, February, let's say, the emails start going out to all the parents where registration is now open. Here's the fees for, this age group. Here's the fees for that age group. And you sign up, and then teams get assembled, and, parents volunteer to be the head coaches, and then the games begin. So how does that look? What I just explained, how does that look on your end with your team, with your league?
So with our administration and our league, just like any 501c3 non-for-profit organization is required to, by law, is to have a board. So we do have a board with a president, who is myself, Vice President Caitlin Tuspanshinsky. We have a treasurer, Tara.
You just said her name correct.
Yeah. I practice.
You're
She's
practicing.
my wife. I practice a lot at the mirror. All right, a lot of looking in the mirror.
Very good.
There's a lot of words in English that I have a problem translating, as it is my second language. But that is Polish, and I got to get it right. All right, that's my wife.
Right. Yeah, you don't have any options there.
No, but I got to do it for the culture. You know what I mean? But anyway, we do have a whole board. Our coaches, we have a website, www.rival.com. It's something that it's a continuous work. I myself also do the workout, the website, so I do marketing as well on the side. I do videos.
Can you spell that, like that, Santos? Can you spell that? So it's
www.rival, RHYBL.com, the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League.
Gotcha. Very good. So that's www.rhybl.com.
Correct. You can also find us on Facebook, Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League. We start year round. We're always having a conversation about what's next for Rival. But as far as registration is concerned, this year we're going to be opening up pre-registration, and that's something that you can see in our website, which is, by the way, in Spanish and in English. We start registering January 1st of January. We were already taking registrations. By February, we were already we are doing the push marketing wise, as far as recruiting coaches and getting them traced to the NATE, trained coaches to the National Sports Association. It's a third party entity that not only background our coaches, our future coaches to be, and gives an analysis to whether or not they are individuals that we can actually have working with children,
Sure.
But we also provide them, and I run this myself against the coaches orientation that I do. I run them through a course of what do we expect them as coaches along with this training, simple tips on things that to teach. And not only that, but how do we deal with the youth if certain problems arise? How do we coordinate with these things? So, we try to keep coaches trained as much as possible. Not everything is able to be done that's on the plan, but this if in a perfect world, these are how things will be projecting. Practices start every year in May. Although one of the things that we talked about that the politics with Little League and us is that, we have a lot of Latinos and they don't really like playing in the cold, so we start in May. We're literally by May, they're already in their first week of games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always been a problem here in New York. I mean, the weather, the weather's absolutely horrible, and it rains often all through May, and it doesn't matter when we seem to get out on the field. We're out there on wet fields trying to squeeze in as many games as we can. So I hear you there. What do your fees? What do your fees look like? How do you guys fund? I mean, I know we have to pay for the umpires to umpire the game and uniforms. What do your guys' fees look like, and how do you go about collecting them?
Currently, our fees for registration are what they were when I came into the board, which is $75 for registration fee. And then some of our other income comes through sponsorship. Individual companies that may like to market themselves within our community, and in the same token, flip of a coin, be able to also help us be able to pay for things like umpires, field maintenance, the coaches' training, background checks, equipment that needs to be bought, the uniforms. And the labor that goes associated with it, you know.
Equipment to maintain the fields. You have to buy the baseballs for the games, obviously.
So it runs us about anywhere between $130 to $140 a year per child to put one child on the field, you know. So the mission is that we charge possibly what could be the lowest fee in New York State, $75 for every child ages 4 through 16, the chance to play organized baseball. And our mission is that we'll come up with the remaining $65+ dollars, you know what I mean, through sponsorship, through working with our board, through things like what Jose Peo is able to do for us.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we try to do. I mean, we all know that baseball could get expensive sometimes, but we're trying to bring it back to just the family values of what is just backyard baseball, and when we're trying to do everything we can to keep it there, so we could hone in our home skills, build our foundation before we start trying to think about any World Series with Little League.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you know, and I know it's not a sexy topic that everybody wants to talk about, but the fees, you know, you mentioned that amount, and you're probably spot on there as far as that being the lowest fee. I know, again, just from my personal experience, at the tail end of my son's Little League career, we were paying as much as, I believe, $175 for each Little League season. So yeah, I mean, that's how much it costs per player. So that's great that you guys are able to bring in the balance of that revenue and keep the fees down for the kids. So you mentioned that you have 11 teams right now, and obviously that's spread out over all of the age groups. So are you able to field any multiple team situations at any one age group, or are you having to schedule games outside of your league for all of your games?
A little bit of both. So currently, right now in July, in the month of July, just to start, we have 3 teams in each division: the 4 to 6, the 7 to 8, 7 to 9. I mean, division. The 10 to 12 and 13 to 16. Which for Little League would be 16U, 12U, 9U,
yes,
and 6U. We right now in July we're doing our home game, so basically a series of a championship game that will culminate in July 31st with whoever the first seed and the second seed are batting it all against each other. There's 3 teams in the 10 and 12 division, for example. They each get to play each other 3 times for a total of 6 games. By the end of the last week of July, we'll know who the first, second, and third seed is, and they will play each other accordingly until only one remains. There will be first place trophies. Early in June, we were able to diversify by being able to schedule games with East Side, South Side, and Charlotte Little League. I mean, East Side makes this extremely helpful for us. Shout out to Angelo if he's listening, or Bruce Conroe. Those individuals are great, and they really have a heart of gold and a work ethic that I can't even compare. I mean, they have 20+ years doing what I'm talking about right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So shout out to them. So
where do you play your home games at? Where are your home fields?
We have 4 home fields active right now. Our main spot is located over by School 22, the corner of Upper Falls and Hudson Avenue. 595 Upper Falls Boulevard is the address of the school, and which is the parking lot is located, which is why I'm saying it. And 525 Upper Falls Boulevard is the address of the actual parks, which is the Baden Parks. There is a kiosk there, which we are able to put some of our equipment and store our equipment back, as well as sell stuff, hamburgers, and whatever we need to raise funds, which we've been extremely successful as we invest the money into the store. Again, shout out to my wife, Kayla, and the vice president, who's been holding that down, and it has been our primary source of income for the last 2 years. And then we're just trying to grow right now and trying to continue to play games with other organizations.
Have you had any experience at all, or have you attempted? Has there been any reason to attempt to play any teams from anywhere else in Monroe County, such as Irondequoit or Greece or Penfield? And if so, what's been the feedback there?
So one of those things is like everything is kind of last minute from Little League perspective when it comes, just because again they're technically a month ahead and they have all these championship games going on and district games going on. So the only way that we actually have been able to play right now is because most of those teams have gotten eliminated from whatever tournaments they're participating on. And now it's the beginning, it's the first week of June and July, and their teams don't have any teams to play, so they form in-house championship games. But they've been very responsive. We schedule games with Webster. We have 2 games scheduled with Webster on Thursday, on tomorrow, Wednesday, at 13 and 16 division. We'll be playing against Eastside. They're coming back to us. We've actually already have 2 games with them. Charlotte, what's their name? Greece. We haven't heard back from Greece, literally, but it's definitely something where we have everybody's ear. Also, a Gates Chilai, we've had conversations with their interim president. It's just about being able to schedule things, but after being front coming and being able to just have the conversation and figure out that if it's not something that we can make work this year, which I'm completely aware of. But you know what? I work hard, and whenever I shoot for the stars, and maybe they get to the moon. And if it's something that end up working back in 2022, then I know that we at least laid the ground foundation for 2022 and early 2021. So when we start 2022, we've already had conversations with the district administrator for all the surrounding area within not only the city of Rochester, but from Monroe County. And I'm hopeful that we're able to be looking at a 2022 City of Rochester championship game, in which a 13 and 16 division could be playing at the Red Wing Stadium.
Oh, wow. That's great.
That's also something that we have in conversations with Naomi Silvers. We've had several conversations with her throughout the last couple of years, actually. She's been very helpful and forthcoming with us, and is also a part of the Rochester Baseball Coalition, which again likes us on Facebook. We have also a website, www.therochesterbaseballcoalition. I don't like to get politically involved, but I do advocate for the resources that we need in Monroe County and our city parks, because we can't just keep building parks and not having the funds to maintain them, especially when there's individuals within all 4 of these leagues, especially Eastside. And I keep saying Eastside because the president there has been putting in work for 20 years. I just saw him picking up weeds himself. That's how much committed they are, how much willing he is, and how much love he has for the sport. Not only that, but second generation of his daughters, his kids are also taking the helm, So we have a new generation. We have a hope. We have a small snow that's starting to roll, and we need everybody's help to push it down the hill to make sure that we can revitalize baseball and continue to get our kids busy throughout the summer.
That's great. So I'm talking to Santos and Caitlin Cruz, who are the president and vice president of the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League. My name is Chad Hummel, and we're on the We the People podcast network here in Rochester, New York. Santos, before I let you guys go, just a couple more quick questions. So do you both have children that play baseball in the league?
No, we not yet. However, I do have a bunch of nieces and nephews, which is how we end up getting involved in the first place.
Okay, very good.
Just trying to make sure that the cousins in our families, my nieces and nephews, are playing together and spending time together. So Rival kind of brought my family together, and that's my story and how I get involved with Rival. And I enjoy coaching my 4 to 6 year olds, nieces and nephews, along with all the children, and also getting all the parents involved. So that's how we do it.
That's great. That's great. So you mentioned earlier the Rochester City School District. Are you able to get literature into the district, emails? Is there a way that there's some recruiting that goes on, or are you able to get, the name of the league and the activities put in front of the children at school so that they can learn about the league and maybe be enticed to come play?
According to a study that came out back in 2012, I guess that might have been one of the problems, but I don't know. I don't think it's a problem. Again, I've been working with Eugenio Cotto. I'm not Eugenio Cotto. I mean, Carlos Cotto, the sports director of the city school district sports department, and he's very helpful with everything. That's where we're heading to, and I guess that's one of the things I've been asking, or actually I'm going to ask, and allow us to do that. Then it will be something that will be more helpful, because again, marketing is how we get the name out there. My wife and I have dropped some over 250 flyers in homes back in 2019, and a lot of families just told us that they didn't know that there was a baseball program, especially one that caters to Latinos. Especially having 3,000 families that have come to live in Rochester and the surrounding area within the last couple of years due to the Hurricane Maria and the earthquake that followed. We have a lot of families that unfortunately don't speak, English, and they're learning, of course, in school, and it takes some time to learn a second language. But in the meantime, the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League is an organization that's here to make sure that we can facilitate communication and play.
Awesome. Do you guys do you have any teams at the District 4 level that have competed in what would be the tournament that sends teams to the Little League World Series? Are you able to compete in that tournament?
No, we are not. We would have to be registered with Little League, so that's one part of the politics stuff. Is do I ask rival? Do I dissolve the organization just so I could join Little League and work on the division that we're going to work together to grow baseball? You know what I mean? That's one of the fears of all, or many actually, organizations that are independent. We want to, of course, we want to play with Little League rules. It makes sense. Everything makes sense. But how can we preserve our autonomy is key. And the answer to that seems to be yes, from what I can see in the conversations that I've had. Unfortunately, we can't play with them, but what we can do is somehow register our kids or our players through their charter, Eastside charter, and then be
form
able
a team
to play
that way.
Yeah, but we're trying. There's 4 different charters right now for Little League within the city of Rochester, and the conversation is, which is going to be brought up to the table within the district, is to dissolve all those districts and create one city-wide charter. The entire city of Rochester's boards, coaches, everything is not really going to go anywhere because we need all hands on deck. We'll preside over the district we preside over. It's just now the charter is opened up to the entire district, and we could facilitate communication and facilitate work instead of duplicating our efforts, which is time consuming.
Very good. So, Caitlin, I just have to let you know that my sister-in-law from Poland just posted a message on our board here. Hello from Poland.
Oh, dzień dobry.
Yes, dzień dobry from Poland. That's my sister-in-law Beata Boberico in Poland right now. She's over there for a few weeks visiting family. She lives in Colorado, but she goes to Poland almost every summer for a few weeks. So there you go. Dzień dobry from Poland. All right. I love you, right?
Yeah.
See, we got this all figured out, Santos.
We're multicultural, man. That's what we love about Rifle. What I love about my wife.
Okay, so that's I'm glad you said that about the multicultural. So I wanted to ask. So obviously you cater to Latinos. So do you have other ethnicities that are in your league, and what does that dynamic look like?
Yes, we do have players that are, white, black, or different African American or other cultures.
Yeah.
When Rival got built, you got to think the mentality of it. We did not have a playground to play in, so they kind of created their own sandbox, not to allow anybody else to play in that sandbox. Make sure that the kids who spoke Spanish and did not understand English, especially back in the early 90s and late 80s, where we had a lot of families again coming from Puerto Rico and other areas. We want to make sure that we can cater to those families and that we have a culture that will make them feel at home while we're in America. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what makes us American is our belief of freedom, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. The culture and the language, for me, that's just secondary. That's
great. That really is awesome. So, all right. Anything else that you guys want to add? Now's your chance. I mean, we mentioned the website and all that. I think this is great what you guys do.
The most important thing that I would say is support the Rochester Baseball Coalition, www.Rochester Baseball Coalition. You could also find us on Facebook, share it, like it, support our message, help us advocate, help us. We will be sending out petitions and anything that we need to be able to be vocal, in a respectful manner, of course. But at the end of the day, the needs of our family needs to be met. And whether that means there's no bad person. And that's something that I want to clarify. Nobody is bad in this whole thing. Everybody's working hard. But if the answer is that the resources are low or we don't have an answer for you, then let's work together to find the answer of what it will take to fix Rochester within the inner city of Rochester. So to fix baseball in the inner city of Rochester.
Yeah, and of course, as you know, and this is kind of where my heart is at on this topic is. and I don't want to put words in your mouths, but if I was talking about this before you both came on, if the children in the city of Rochester, and I know because it's where I grew up, if we have something to do, if we have somewhere to go, if we have a team to join, if we have role models, and if we have leaders within our community, then we're going to feel like we belong to something. And what it is that we're going to belong to is something that's going to have a positive impact on our lives as children, not a negative impact like drugs and gangs. So it can't be overstated. It really can't, that what it is that you folks are doing is you're providing essentially a lifeline. I mean, let's face it, there's children in the city of Rochester that are going to be perfectly fine without baseball or without football or without basketball. But then there's also undoubtedly there's children in Rochester, there's children that you're coaching and providing an opportunity for that, but for what you do, they're going to fall by the wayside, and they're going to fall hard by the wayside. So it's tremendous. I'm going to get involved. Once we go off air, I'm going to get your contact information directly, if it's okay, from Jose, and I'm going to reach out to you folks, and I'm going to do whatever it is I can do to get involved. The only thing I ask is I want a coaching position somewhere along the way.
Oh, okay.
Well, we got a program, and get you started. And, we have a lot of good coaches that are coaching with us, like Parisi Law, and we have attorneys on the field too, so we got people from all sorts of backgrounds that are stepping in and are doing our due diligence to make sure that
one of the things that we're also providing is a role model.
Caitlin, we're having trouble hearing you, Caitlin. Are you talking into the phone?
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the fact that these children also have a good role model sitting on the field as a coach. My husband is a firefighter as well.
Oh, awesome.
Some of our coaches are attorneys. So they're also seeing a limelight to the future that with hard work and dedication, you can get yourself from a situation that seems like an endless road with us being involved. And one of the things that we do is we continue. One of the issues that we faced also with the youth is when the season's over, what happens?
Yeah.
When school goes back to par and everything gets a little bit more stressful on top of everything, we also have once a month, we have family day with them. So that's why we try to raise as much funds as possible to keep our youth involved with Little League, because we're also a family. We're more than just baseball. There's a family aspect to all of this. And we try to make sure that that's the most important thing that they leave with every single time.
That's phenomenal. That truly is. I love to hear this. So, okay. Well, guys, so again, this is I'm speaking with Caitlin Cruz and Santos Cruz, and they're spearheading. They're part of spearheading the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League, and it was a pleasure to have him on here today. This happened so spontaneously, but I believe that it happened for a reason. Thank you to Jose Pio for connecting this up. Thank you to my producer Austin for being able to put this together last second and having you guys call in. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you both, and God bless you in your endeavors. And I think, is it Dobranoc at this point? Is that what I say, Caitlin, or do I say Dobranoc?
Yeah.
Very good, perfect. And hopefully my mother-in-law is listening. She'll be so impressed with my Polish.
Okay.
One more thing I wanted to touch up on it.
Yes.
If anybody that is listening that's interested in getting involved in meeting our sponsors or trying to actually raise funds with us, we're hosting a fundraiser on August 4th, 6 to 9 p.m. Our sponsors are going to be the bartenders. It's going to be at 1985 East Main Street at the Salvatore's on East Main in the city of Rochester. So if anybody's interested to come up and meet us and ask questions, please come down. We'd be more than willing to sit down and talk to you more about baseball.
Awesome. Yeah.
1985 East Main.
Beautiful. Yes. Sam Fantuzzo is one of our prize sponsors actually on the We the People podcast network. So that's a great opportunity. And I just wrote that date down, and we're going to push that out there as well, and do whatever we can to help you folks out in your endeavors. So I thank you so much. I thank you so much for both coming on. You guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, Austin. How do we do there?
I think it went well.
That's great. So this is episode, I believe, number 5. If we count last week. Last week, of course, we did a Facebook Live for episode number 4 of the We the People Podcast Network. We broadcasted live from downtown Rochester at an event where Shannon Joy, a local radio program host, was laying out a lawsuit that she commenced against Monroe County. But so we're here on episode. I think it went pretty good. That was great. It was awesome to hear from those folks.
Yeah.
So,
well, the phone didn't break up or anything, and it actually worked. So
yeah,
that was good.
Technology did its thing for once.
Yeah,
Especially when I'm involved with technology, that usually doesn't happen. So it's all you. It's all you, Austin.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to take full credit and just say, like, I was sitting here really making sure it was working. Working real hard on it.
Perfect. I love it. So, all right. So how we doing on time here? It's about it's getting close to 10 to 5. So I had 3 or 4 other topics that I was going to talk about today, but I won't get to all of them. That was actually number 1 on my list. And honest to God, it's unbelievable how that came together, because I had about a couple hours ago, I had jotted down the 3 or 4 topics that I wanted to talk about today. And one of the topics that I wanted to talk about was this idea that's been kicking around in my head about trying to get involved in Rochester City Little League Baseball, because primarily, and like I said, a little bit of is nostalgia, right? So I spent the last 10 years or so involved in Little League in Irondequoit with my children. I've mentioned my son several times, but 2 of my daughters also play softball and have played softball in Irondequoit Little League. So it's been a big part of our lives. It's been a big part of the Hummel household since probably around 2008 or 2009. And that's all kind of winding up. And and I love coaching. It's something that I like to do. And having grown up in the city of Rochester and seeing in the guest there, Santos Cruz, he mentioned that, he doesn't really like to get involved in politics, but let's face it, at the end of the day, the politics right now in the city are quite vile, right? We have a faction of the city government that has no problem openly bashing the police. And, it seems so simplistic to just simply talk about defunding the police and bashing the police. And even if you could make out a rational argument for those things, for bashing the police and defunding the police, at the end of the day, it's such a simplistic, narrow-minded, intellectually dishonest position to take, because the only thing that really matters is that we have decades now, generations now of children growing up in the poverty and in the drugs of the city of Rochester. And there's violence, there's murders, there's shootings on a daily basis in the city of Rochester. If you tune into Kimberly's Revolution Monday through Wednesday, we talk about it often, but it's all out there, right? Just Google it. The murders are real, the shootings are real. And let's face it, you can be politically correct, right? And that's not a play on Jose Pio's podcast, which is called Politically Correcting. You can be politically correct, which means you're not stating the truth. You're just placating people. You're speaking in a way that won't offend a certain group of people, or you can just tell the truth, right? So you can be politically correct, and you can say that we need more programs and we need more funding and we need more this and we need more that, or you can just speak the truth. And the truth is that the Progressive Party and the Liberal Party and the politics of those parties, whether you want to call yourself a progressive or a liberal or a Democrat, the politics and the ideology of that party for about 7 generations now has been to enslave people on government dependence through welfare and through more and more and more programs. And then to blame others when those programs don't work. And instead of getting rid of the programs that don't work, pile on the programs that don't work. Add on more programs that don't work. Call it a loophole. Blame somebody. Blame the police. All right? Well, you know what? I don't know what the exact number of murders that has happened in the city of Rochester so far this year, but I know it's north of 30. Austin, I mean, I'm sure Kimberly's talked about it. Has she thrown out a number lately? What are we at? 35? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I thought it was close to 40.
Yeah, it might be. So let's call it 40. So if there's been 40 murders in the city of Rochester since January 1st of 2021, how many of those quote unquote murders have been police officers, white police officers, right? If we're being honest, right? That's the politics. We want to call this a problem of police, and we want to call this a problem of racism. We've heard right from the very top, right from Joe Biden's mouth, right from Kamala Harris's mouth, right from Nancy Pelosi's mouth, all the top brass. We've heard it right from their mouths that one of the biggest dangers, if not the biggest danger in American society right now, is racism and police officers. We've heard it. Google it. Google this phrase that the biggest danger to African American males ages 20 to 30 is white police officers. And you'll find quotes right from those very individuals, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the Chuck Schumers of the world, the Joe Morelli's of the world that are right here in our own backyard in Irondequoit, New York, Joe Morelli. And we hear these dishonest liars constantly blame racism and police for the problems in the city of Rochester. How many of those 40 murders were white police officers shooting African American males? I'll wait. Zero, I believe. If there's one, then I'm wrong by 1 out of 40. I don't believe there's been any. And I believe that it's been substantially, you've heard the phrase black on black crime. I don't even like the phrase because it's just another one of those clickbait phrases that people use to speak in political terms. It's just facts. It's just the truth is what it is. All right. And the reason why that matters is because before you can fix a problem, you have to identify the problem, right? You can't just throw out solutions to some unidentified problem. And we know how the left has identified the problem. They've identified the problem as white police officers. They demand that we defund the police. Why? Why should we defund the police? And explain to us how defunding the police is going to fix your problem. Please tell me. Please tell me how defunding the Rochester City Police Department is going to stop the likelihood that there's going to be a murder on North Street tonight, or on Hudson Avenue, or on Joseph Avenue, or on Jefferson Avenue. Explain to me how a drug dealer who's in a turf war with another drug dealer on Carter Street right now as we speak, literally 2 miles from where I'm speaking. Explain to me how those two drug dealers who are in the middle of a turf war and they're Hispanic or Latino or African American or even white, explain to me how defunding the police department, eliminating police officers on the street, taking away their equipment and resources is going to prevent any one of the next shootings that's going to happen in the city of Rochester. I dare somebody to explain that to me. I dare any of you liberals, any of you progressives, or even if you fashion yourself a conservative or a Republican and you happen to believe that there's some connection there between the police and the amount of funding they get and the crime and the murder rate in the city of Rochester. Anybody, please give me any plausible or logical explanation as to how defunding the police in any city, in Seattle, in Chicago, is going to lead to lower murder rates. It's just not going to happen. It's a lie. It's the big lie. Right? The left loves to call the what happened at the Capitol on January 6th part of the big lie, right? The big lie was the fact that the election was stolen and so on and so forth. No, the big lie is anything and everything that comes out of a leftist's mouth. They like to say that, you know when a lawyer's lying. I'm a lawyer. I can make lawyer jokes. You know when a lawyer's lying, right? When their lips are moving. Yeah, well, that applies to all left-wing politics. And, quite frankly, it applies to the right wing politicians as well. My wife just texted me. She told me to stop saying Austin, am I saying a lot?
I mean, you're not saying it not a lot.
Are you trying to be politically correct?
No, I'm just telling the truth in a roundabout way.
My wife's right. She's always right. I'll try to stop saying It's hard when you've been doing it since you were like 6.
It is hard. I noticed that on my own podcast the other day. It's a thing.
Yeah, likes and that's the hardest thing to avoid.
Oh, for sure.
And now that it's on my radar, now I'm gonna have a complex about it. So I'll probably end up saying it even more times.
Yeah. Then you just have thoughtful silences because you're trying not to say
There you go. Exactly. Thoughtful science. Wait, what did you just say? Thoughtful
silences.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's very good.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of thoughtful silences, we're getting close to having just permanent silence here on the Got Freedom podcast. So Chad Hummel here at the We the People podcast studios in Irondequoit, New York. This is the Got Freedom podcast. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate if you go to the We the People podcast network page on Facebook and become a member of that page. Either click like or click that you want to follow the page or whatever it is now that you have to do on Facebook in order to become a member of our page, We the People Podcast Network on Facebook. And then what'll happen is, just like when you have a friend on Facebook and they do a Facebook Live and you get a notification that they're popping off at the mouth about politics or something, you'll also get a notification from the We the People Podcast Network that Jose Pio or Matt Fritz or Kimberly or myself or Marcus Williams, who's also joined us, that we've gone live, and we love that you follow us on our Facebook page and check out the We the People Podcast Network. So, I just did it again, Austin.
Oh, geez.
I gotta go with I like that. I gotta go with the thoughtful silence.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it makes it seem like you're real deep.
That's right. You kind of stare up into outer space, like you actually know what you're thinking about, and you're just avoiding doing and like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. So it's probably getting a little too late to jump into the next topic, but what I will do is, and I do this all the time and then I don't follow through, but I'll tease the next topic. So what kind of got me thinking about the whole city baseball issue and which brought on our topic that we talked about extensively today was this week, like I bought a house in the city of Rochester as an investment property along with my partner. And it's a property that's in the city of Rochester, and we're going to do a little work on it and hopefully get some tenants in there and make some money off this venture. But the reason why I think it's important to be involved in these types of ventures, including the Little League Baseball, where we heard from our guests, we heard from Caitlin Cruz and Santos Cruz, who spearhead the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League, is because there needs to be opportunities for everybody. In order to gain your freedom, in order to gain your economic freedom and your freedom to pursue your own happiness, you have to have a job. You have to get your education, and then you have to find a job. And that education doesn't have to be anything more than your high school diploma. It doesn't have to be anything more than your GED. Quite frankly, it doesn't have to be anything more than listening to what your parents teach you, listening to what your perhaps church leaders teach you, listening to what your own heart and mind teach you, and following your own instincts. But you have to find that thing, that one thing that you're going to be able to support yourself economically with and support your family with. And unfortunately, what the ideologies of socialism and communism and Marxism produce are top-handed, top-heavy government solutions for everything. That's just textbook, right? They'll tell you, those individuals that follow those principles, if they're being honest, will admit to you that those are their ideals. They believe in big government, and they believe in collectivism and collective solutions for individual problems. And those on the other side of the fence, and most people in the middle, believe in individual solutions for individual problems. Now, of course, that does not mean that we cannot work together as societies, and we cannot work together as groups of people that are either aligned geographically or politically or religiously or demographically, because of course human beings need to rely upon others, right? But we rely upon others in a way where we're a mutual benefit to each other, not where one party is a strain on the other party. And this idea of socialism and communism, which is nothing but collectivism, does the exact opposite. It sends all of the resources up to the top, to the few elite, powerful people that control the government, and they control the money train, so to speak. And they leave the rest of us to have to follow their rules. And they leave the rest of us to rely upon them and to seek out them when it's time for a solution. So get your children involved in an environment where they learn teamwork, where they learn to compete with each other, because that's what the real world is going to demand of them. And the children, unfortunately, and this goes for the suburbs as well, right? We all know that there's drugs everywhere. We all know that there's poverty everywhere. But everywhere there's drugs and poverty, there's negative outcomes for the children. It just happens to be more so highly concentrated in the city of Rochester as we speak. These children need opportunities that are rooted in freedom, not opportunities that are rooted in the government control and in welfare checks. They need an education, they need role models, and they need to feel like there's an opportunity for a job there someday. As my one guest, Caitlin Cruz, mentioned, that these children, they need to see that there's a way out. She mentioned that there's some high-profile individuals that are coaches in the league. These children need to see that it isn't all about the welfare check, and that it's not all about simply failing out of school and falling into a gang. They need to see that there's an opportunity for them. And it goes beyond this racism narrative that the left is constantly pushing on us, right? And the left they've run their course in the city. Let's face it. They've destroyed the cities. Look around. Look at Chicago. Look at Rochester. Look at Seattle. Look at any major metropolitan city that's run by the leftists and the Democrats. They've ruined them all. They've destroyed them all. They've stripped them of their resources, and they've moved on. And now you know what they're doing? Now they're moving into the suburbs, and they're trying to do the same thing in the suburbs. That's what critical race theory is all about. It's all about bringing their fight of destruction to the suburbs now, right? Once the tornado destroys one section, it moves on to the next section. Once the hurricane destroys one section, it just keeps going and moves on and keeps destroying. And that's what the leftists are doing right now. I said I wasn't going to go any deeper. I've just gone off the deep end. All right, I'm going to wrap things up. This is Chad Hummel on the We the People Podcast Network. This is the Got Freedom Podcast. I'm glad you joined me. I appreciate you joining me. And just one last time, I'm going to plug the guests that I spoke to today. I talked to Caitlin and Santos Cruz. Caitlin and Santos Cruz, I believe, are residents of the city of Rochester, and they spearhead a Little League group, a baseball Little League group in the city of Rochester. Please visit www.rhybl.com. That's the Rochester Hispanic Youth Baseball League. They also mentioned the Rochester Baseball Coalition. There's a website for that as well. So Google the Rochester Baseball Coalition. They have some fundraiser events coming up. They mentioned that on August 4th at 1985 East Main Street, which I believe is a Salvatore's location in the city of Rochester, they will be doing a fundraising event for the global purpose of Rochester Youth Little League Baseball. I think it's an awesome endeavor that they're on. They're focused on bringing the youth of Rochester to a setting where they will meet role models, they will learn competition, they will learn camaraderie, and hopefully that'll lead them to a better life than what the leftists in the city are going to provide them. So thank you again. Chad Hummel signing off on the We the People Podcast Network here. Go America.